Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? I am Mike, and I am here with Randy. Randy, how's your week?
Very good. I know we're releasing these a couple of weeks ahead of what we've done, but getting this right out of the holiday season, it was a
I
very
told
nice,
you
enjoyable
last
time.
week to stop talking about Christmas. I'll give you last week because we recorded.
I told you I can't let go, and so I am going to inundate you with it. We are going to be in June, and I'm going to talk about Christmas.
We recorded our last episode on the 26th of December. Fine, I'll give it to you. This one's the 30th. It is New Year. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Christmas 2025 is dead to you now. All right? You've got nothing left.
I had the understanding that there are 12 days of Christmas, Michael.
Yeah, they're supposed to happen in the lead up to Christmas. You don't do the 12 days of Christmas after, do you?
No, I think it's supposed to be because the idea is isn't it backed in the religious stating that like Pentecost is the 12th days of Christmas, right? I thought it started on the 25th and goes all the way through. I think it goes to, this is weird, January 6th, which different January 6th, but like.
Oh. That's because that's the Messiah's day.
Okay.
Wait.
Never mind. Yes, I had a very nice week, Mike. It was anticipation for the new year. It was very good. So
the 12 days that make up. Oh my God, it starts on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
I am 41 years old. Okay. I am an old man. My life is at its end. I don't have much time left. I'll be dead soon.
Jeez.
However,
Happy New Year, everybody.
However, this entire time, my entire life, I had assumed that the 12 days of Christmas were building up to Christmas.
Negative.
So you're telling me that on actual Christmas Day, the first day of the 12 days of Christmas, they gave this person a partridge in a pear tree. They're like, Merry Christmas, baby. It's partridge in a pear tree season. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then, on a day that in my mind has no significance, on December 29th, they're just like, baby, I got you 5 golden rings.
There you go.
Happy December 29th, the most important day on the calendar. Randy, you're right. I get why we're talking about Christmas now because I'm still learning. I'm learning so much.
Because we're still in the season. So I think The Office did that bit where Andy had Aaron for his Secret Santa and tried to do the 12 days of Christmas. He's like, I didn't know it was like 30 birds.
I remember that. That was good. It was one of those. Is that late era? Was that before Michael left or not? All I remember was later era.
It might have been after because Andy was the manager.
Was he the manager? I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
When you get into this is going to sound alliterative, the Aaron era, I start to get a little spotty on the timeline.
Right.
Because Michael didn't have much time left. And I know she was there.
Maybe Robert California was the manager. I can't remember. But
I feel like Andy couldn't get away. And I realized we could easily just look this up and I refuse. Yeah. I love the internet, but it's ruined sometimes the trivia debates of old. Like Cheers couldn't happen now because anytime Cliff opened his mouth, somebody'd have their phone open and be like, that's not true. I have it right here. It's like, damn it. But I feel like Andy couldn't have been the boss to pull that off. He had to still just be a guy on the floor.
I think you're right. The more I think about that.
So anyway, I didn't watch The Office this week, which is probably why I'm having trouble remembering. But hey, what do you watch this week? Let's do some what we watched.
So it was kind of here and there because I ended up watching. There's a lot of sporting events. We're in the time frame where there's a lot of college football going on. I've talked about my college football fandom. Watched a lot of those bowl games because this is that time of year where there are 8,000 different college football bowl games, and there's always seems to be one on. So it's just kind of in the background. I throw it on there.
I did watch all the social media stuff around the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I didn't watch anything of the actual game, but everything with that fucking Pop-Tart is money. Whoever their marketing team is, whoever came up with everything last year and this year regarding Pop-Tarts bowl game marketing, give that person a bonus, give them a raise. Holy shit. But
It's great.
we can talk about that later. You want to
No,
talk
but it started, I
sports?
think, with the Cheez-It Bowl. Once that started about 6 or 7 years ago, and they realized that it's just, and it used to be Bad Boy Mowers sponsors, which I've honestly never heard of except for these bowls. Sponsors a couple of these bowls, and they do kind of the, at halftime the mowers do like a a
Oh,
synchronized
oh,
thing,
I
so
have
it's
seen that.
super
Yeah.
fun. And but the 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 fact that Snoop sponsored a bowl. Did you see that too? The Snoop Dogg Arizona
No,
Bowl.
looking it up right now. I
Yeah.
completely missed that.
So we've got all sorts of these great things that I think is going to need to happen, because without getting too much into the weeds on college football, now that they've started a more expanded playoff format, these bowl games are really going to have to be these kind of like showy outliers to really
Yeah,
mean anything, because it's two teams usually
because
that
they don't matter.
finished fifth in their conference or whatever, and it's just, it's to say something fun or to go somewhere warm or nice over the, especially if these teams are from cold weather states. You get to go down to Florida or Arizona or something or Hawaii, things like that.
Literally, what I was just about to ask about the Hawaii Bowl. Isn't there something, and tell me if I'm wrong, isn't there some kind of deal worked out where, because of the logistics of getting the Hawaii team off the island, the Hawaii team will always play in the Hawaii Bowl, and they won't qualify for a different bowl? They're like, "You made it to the Hawaii Bowl again, guys! Great job." Is
I
that a
don't,
thing?
I don't, if they're up for qualifying, maybe,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's what I thought. I could have
that's not,
sworn
that's a
maybe it was a
possibility.
one-off. That is odd. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. Thanks, internet. This one I did look up because I really wanted
Nice.
to know this.
Okay.
For practical and logistical reasons, the Mountain West Conference's tie-in is automatically allocated to the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors if the team is bowl eligible and was not selected to play in a New Year's Six bowl game. Because obviously then that would, let's get the fuck out of here. We could win a championship. That means the Rainbow
Interesting.
Warriors do not have to travel to the mainland for a bowl game unless it is of significant importance. As a result of this practice, the Rainbow Warriors have made the most appearances in the game at 9. So, although that doesn't say a lot because that bowl game has been going on since 2002, and the Hawaii Golden Warriors have only made 9 appearances in the Hawaii Bowl. So that says something.
Hawaii's not always great. I think that is also a sort of make good to Hawaii for being most routinely the most traveled college football team,
Okay.
obviously, because of where they have to go. The Mountain West Conference spans all the way to basically the Midwest. So
Yeah, that's kind of fucked for them.
they are doing a lot of flying. Although now with the reorganization of some of the conferences, which the hilarious component of Stanford and Cal being in the Atlantic Coast Conference, now some of those teams fly, although like Stanford has to fly to Boston College at times. It's crazy.
Oh. By the way, the last appearance of Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl was 2019, and they won. So good for them.
All right, good on them. So home field advantage.
Exactly. But they
so
will not be in the upcoming, previous, the one that just happened on Christmas Eve. South Florida and San Jose State. That's the game that went to 5 overtimes. That was the Hawaii Bowl. I heard about that.
there was a game that went to 6 overtimes too, I believe. So
That's the one. Yeah.
And I don't know how involved you got with doing college football games this year, Mike, but
I only did 2 games professionally, work-wise. I did a lot of ancillary studio coverage. I only did 2 proper games. But
so you didn't get into college football. Are you aware of the college? I know we're off into a tangent on sports here, but do you know the college football?
I love them. I love them.
You sort of started this, so
I did. It's my fault. I'm naturally curious, Randy, and then I get put into things I don't care about.
Yeah. Do you know the college football overtime rules?
No, are you kidding me? No.
No. So it's crazy. So it used to just be they would put a team at the 25. The other team's 25, and you have a chance to try and score. So you're already in quote unquote field goal range. You can get a first down. You try to score. Once you get to the 3rd overtime, you have to start going for 2. You can't kick extra points. That was the way that it was for a long, long time. But the problem is they would get these longer and longer and longer overtimes, 7 and 8 overtime games, and they switched it I think 2 years ago. So now you have to go for 2. After the first overtime. So in the second overtime, if you score, you have to go for 2. And then from the 3rd overtime on, all it is 2-point conversions.
Oh, okay. Does
that's
that keep it moving then, I guess? Is that That
I
sounds
guess that's the idea.
okay.
It was really weird. The first one that ever happened that went crazy long, it's either 7, 8, or 9 overtime, something like that. Illinois and Penn State, but the final score was like 24-22 or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Because
it was
even
just
though it went 9
and
overtime,
two,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
very bizarre. So anyway,
yeah.
on from that. So I
Alright.
watched a lot of college football. Kind of stemming off of some of our conversations about the game show podcast that we did the previous week. I started to get into a deep dive on the Carmen San Diego game show just because it was, something we had discussed and talked about a little bit.
Had you seen the clip before I sent it to you? Because also, sorry to interrupt, but that was my favorite part is you were like, this theme slaps. And I just sent you a screen grab of literal real time in the moment. I was listening to, like, watching a video and I was like, I'm there too. I haven't been able to escape. Did you watch the video of the kid winning the Africa map?
I did. Yeah,
it's
it was.
insane.
And
Insane.
I for those, it's the final, and I had it kind of wrong when I was talking about it in the last podcast. For those who don't remember, there was a game show on PBS called Where in the World is Carmen San Diego, based off of
Carmen San
Diego.
Diego.
Do It Rockapella. And it was based off of the computer game, the very popular computer game that had been out for several years, but it ran on PBS. And if you got to the final, when you're trying to track down Carmen San Diego on a specific continent, they would narrow it down to a certain continent. The chief would run off like, here's 20 different potential countries it could be. And you had 45 seconds. I thought it was 60. You had 45 seconds to put these, markers on 7 different countries that the host is telling you about in one. So it's not even like you got to go here, 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 here. So he's like, she went to Egypt. She went to Burkina Faso. She went to all these different.
And those markers are as big as or bigger than the kids. Like this kid that won Africa, I am stunned because I was also misremembering and I was worried it was the whole continent because I was watching in the 45 seconds and I was like, this kid can't nail every little fucking thing there. No, it's like 7 or 8 of them. But they're just, like you said, they're yelling them out in real time. They don't get pre-warned. They're just like, Madagascar. And I actually was on the edge of my seat because Madagascar, obviously, the tiny island off the coast, and it's just there. And I was like, he's never going to make it all the way down.
He's up in Morocco.
And he's got to come back.
Get down there.
He's got to go, little kid, go.
And he knew exactly where he was going. So, but that led me into a little bit of a deep dive of either because the Rockapella theme song is the best part of a very fun game show anyway, but that just puts it into the stratosphere. So I just tried to find different entrances, and unfortunately that would lead me into a lot of the kids on the final stage, and then Greg Lee, the host, kind of just putting his arm around him saying, oh, well, you didn't, and you see like only 2 things on the map behind the kids. Like, oh, you didn't do very well. All right, point up at the camera up top, do it, Rockapella, and they go into it. And man, I must have listened to that theme song like 6 times in a row. It slaps, slaps, slaps. And so what that turned into was I got curious and started to seek out to see if anybody had done deep dives, podcast-wise, into Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of
So you're saying we have a niche.
There.
We have our moment to dedicate.
So there might be something in the future
to.
we could get something in there, because I started to listen to one because they're like, we're going to devote this all just to the game show that's on PBS. Great. And he's like, and the thing about it, he's like, I always said they were saying sing it Rockapella. It's actually hit it Rockapella. And I'm like, I'm turning this off right now. It's obviously do it Rockapella. Stop. And so I couldn't listen to more after that.
You've blown your credibility in episode 1, you dumb motherfuckers. Yeah.
Somehow what that ended up searching for, I got into a different podcast. Emulate This, that's the name of the podcast. So I'll promote another podcast. There's 4 guys, friends from Philly, and they play all these old Nintendo, Super Nintendo computer games, and then talk about, what their playing experience was. And so all 4 of them found an emulator and did the Oregon Trail and did like logs from their Oregon Trail. And the the parameters were they had to be a farmer, which is the poorest one, and had to start in July, which is like the hardest time to start. And then they just logged everything that happened in their party. And it was a really, really funny listen. I made me want to go play Oregon Trail.
So 2 notes on that. There is an amazing, do you sign up? I do so much with Apple stuff. I have like the package of like Apple products, like the music and all that, the news. I have Apple Arcade because I travel a lot for work and I can always kind of try new games out and stuff on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
They have a fucking fantastic modern Oregon Trail. It is exactly what you remember with like a updated interface and somewhat decent graphics, but it's still the Oregon Trail. Text-based game,
Yep.
select this, do that. The other thing I'd say is I don't know how, we've talked about this. You were a little bit more of a jock, it sounds like, growing up than I was, obviously. I don't know what kind of person you were in your early to mid-20s, but I was still pretty fucking nerdy. So my point being is...
Oh, don't underestimate me, Mike.
Oh, fair enough. As I started to drink socially, as you do, and you'd be at a house party, I discovered this house party trick. Naming people in the Oregon Trail party after drunk people at the party and yelling out their status is the biggest crowd reaction interactive game. That it's like you're playing and you're like, we're moving down the trail, and everybody's having, and I go, Jared got diphtheria, or what is it?
Dysentery.
Jared got dysentery, and the whole
Or
party
cholera.
goes, no! Jared, no! And it was, I got into it, and it was so much fun. You just look around and be like, you're in the party. And people are drunk enough to get invested as to if they're going to make it. It is a surprisingly fun party game.
That is a wonderful icebreaker. Yeah, very fun. It made me think of, so my senior year in college, I think it was my roommate, we just had a laptop in the house that we lived in that had basically just had Oregon Trail on it, like just but I had enough memory that you could save all the different headstones as you went along that. So I mean, the headstones along the way, if you played it like late in, we graduated in whatever, May or late April. So by the time, if you were playing that game in March, boy, there were some fun headstones that you would encounter along the way. I always enjoyed that part. I mean, the game is great. It's just super fun, but it was a very entertaining listen. So to emulate this, the name of that podcast, I stumbled into that, and it was an interesting rabbit hole that started from Where in the World is Carmen San Diego to trying to find a podcast of stumbling upon that one.
Did you actually go, out of curiosity, because after last week, I mentioned I might try to make our game show idea into a playable game, and I started looking into it. And to simulate some of the Double Dare and American Gladiators aspects, I went looking for the NES games, and I found a couple of amazing emulation sites for any game you'd want to play. I wasn't sure if you actually looked into any of that while you were diving around.
But please send that along.
I'll send you some links offline. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I didn't watch any real traditional television. Other stuff I watched was pretty much YouTube deep dives. I've talked to you, I think, offline about this channel before. Have you visited or been to Defunctland on YouTube? It is breathtakingly good. They have 2 million subscribers on YouTube for doing deep dive videos on old TV shows, which they don't do much anymore. They pretty much become the history of Disney parks and other amusement parks too, but it's shut down rides, forgotten elements of parks. Like my favorite one, this isn't my favorite one, but oh my God, this came out 2.5 years ago. It's an 1-43-minute video about Disney's Fast Pass system and how it evolved and people's reactions and complications. And then the one they just put out that I just watched is Disney's Animatronics: A Living History. And it's an 1 and 45 minutes. The first 15 is literally like the history of robotics and the nature of humans wanting to explore with machines. And it's a little dry, that first 15. But after that, this guy, Defunctland, I don't know his name, he does such an amazing job detailing the history of the creations, where the people were, where the parks were, who was involved aside from Walt Disney, why did they do something, what was the reaction. And I didn't know this. Did you know the reaction to Abe Lincoln as the very first Hall of Presidents president, the one that started it all? He made that for, I think it was the 64 World's Fair, as like, you can meet Lincoln and he'll talk to you and do stuff. that was met with like vitriolic, the country is angry at Walt Disney backlash. And like, I swear
Why?
to God, because it's an affront against humanity. He's playing God. He's creating life. I swear to you, it's you're seeing this documentary has news clips and you're seeing articles, headlines.
What is this demonry?
I swear, people are like, Disney, you've gone too far. You've overreached. You've flown too close to the sun. And I'm like, I've seen that ride. I mean, they're fine. But in the 60s, they're like, Demon Lincoln. It's really fascinating deep dive. I take the time if you find an hour and a half or more to watch it.
Wow.
And then I was disappointed in this one because I'd been hyping it up in my brain for so long. Another channel I absolutely adore is called History Buffs, and he'll take a movie or a TV show. Sometimes it's around a real historical event that they've turned into a movie. Sometimes it's just like a period piece from that era, and he'll talk about what is real history, what's fake history, how accurate did they get this? Is this period appropriate? And it's not as dry as I make it sound. He's very engaging and very entertaining, and he goes up and down and back and forth about all these things. And I've talked in here before that Chernobyl is like my depressing comfort watch. I've watched Chernobyl a lot. It can be background noise for me because to me the acting is so good that despite the horrific material, I can zone out to it. I'm like, listen to them and do it. And he doesn't deny how powerful it is, but he eviscerates Chernobyl on how inaccurate it is.
Yeah.
It is an hour plus. And I know that at the end of the episode,
I mean, that was pretty well known, right? I mean, it was a heavily dramatized version of it.
It is. So. It's just, and I know because I listened to the podcast, and I even mentioned before when we talked about it, the creator talks on the podcast about why he made changes. And I respect that. He took the time after making changes to explain why he did it for the show and this and that. And it's great. And he addresses that too. He even plays some audio clips from the creator talking on here. But I think because I love Chernobyl so much and I love this channel so much, I was so excited to like watch this, and it didn't process to me that he was just going to fucking tear it apart. And I was like, oh.
That's the thing I like. No.
Yeah, exactly. You're hurting me. Why can't my two friends play together? That's what it's. You met two friends who don't hang out together, came together, and they didn't get along. And I was like, no, this is exactly what I didn't want. And then the final thing, I actually just watched it this morning while we were prepping, the Cultaholic YouTube channel. They do wrestling content, and they do morning wrestling news and updates, and that's fine, whatever. They'll do recaps, but they have other shows that they'll do like top 10 lists. Their bread and butter, why you should go to Cultaholic's YouTube page, is they do like no other channel on YouTube, deep dive wrestling documentaries, and they're so good. They can range from a half hour to, they did the Golden Age of WWE documentary, and this isn't what I watched, I'm just giving a big long lead up, I'm sorry. They did the Golden Age of WWE documentary, I think 2 years ago, where they detailed every storyline and like roster change, major storyline and roster change from like 84 when Hogan won until 92, like shortly before like the new generation era started. And it's 8 hours long. They released it as 4 2-hour YouTube videos. And it's just so fucking good. The only thing that bothers me is in part 2, when they're talking about the escalation of the roster and some of them becoming movie stars. They talk about Roddy Piper in John Carpenter's They Live. And now they're a wonderful British team focused on wrestling, but they call Keith David Keith. They say Roddy Piper co-starred with David Keith and They Live. I almost turned it off and burned down the whole shit. How dare you disrespect Keith David like that? But that said, amazing documentaries. I watched, they just put out, like this morning that we're recording, dirtiest player in the game, Ric Flair. And it's not, you know, a lot of the documentaries that have come out recently, like on Peacock, have Flair's involvement. So I feel like they're a little more, they're going to talk about his foibles, but when the person involved is involved, you know what I mean? They're going to whitewash a little bit. They just detail, it's like 40 minutes of every scandal he had since 1990. Every ounce of debt he's accrued since 1990. Every time he's been sued and divorced. And it's fascinating because I was waiting for more. And they're like, he became a big wrestler. He did have the plane crash in the 70s, but that wasn't his fault. He got hurt and he came back. His troubles didn't start until 1990. Like, he was a massive star at that point. And he just started, the biggest thing that he did is he stopped paying his taxes, and he would just start taking money from people and never pay it back. Like anybody. And then he would get sued over it. The man will not pay back a debt. He will not pay people for work. He will not return the money. And at this point, he's millions and millions of dollars in debt and has so many lawsuits. If you have the opportunity to give Ric Flair money, do not give Ric Flair money. Do not give that man a handout. You're never seeing that. It's a handout is what it is. You're never getting that back. The last, I think, lawsuit that was levied against him was something like $400,000 for some personal loan that a wrestling t-shirt company had given him for helping, because he's Ric Flair and they're a wrestling t-shirt company and they have merch. But it had been long enough where they're like, we're going to need it back. And he's just like, woo, no, bye. And I'm sure that's how he said it. And
there's probably no woo bye.
Yeah, you're right.
No
you're
bye
right.
woo. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Rick, we're going to need that money. No, bye. Woo. Yep, that feels right. So he didn't even pay it back. The lawsuit got dropped. An anonymous, like, angel person just paid off Ric Flair's debt for him. And that's probably how he's gotten by the last 15 years. He's Ric Flair. He has a reputation. People will be like, fine, you can't have Ric Flair go to prison. Here's money. So, anyway, a lot of good YouTube videos, a lot of good stuff, a lot of deep dives. I maintain YouTube Premium. It's the streaming service you have to rip from my cold, dead hands. I watch too much, and I don't want commercials. You can't have it. So
are some of these they're available just with ads, right? Like if you don't have
100%.
That's what it is. So it's available everywhere. It just has ads if you have
100%. Every single one of these things I'm talking about has ads. I have no idea how many that 8-hour 4-part video you'll be watching, but
or when they come. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too, is I've seen, like, I had to watch. It's such a burden. I had to watch some YouTube somewhere else where I didn't on somebody else's account. It was hell. It was hell, Randy. And they don't, unless I think you can set points for ads, we're not there yet. We don't have that kind of audience to even have ads. It's not because we love you. I'd sell out in a second, viewers and listeners, if I got ad money. They seem to just show up and be like, and that's why Randy Savage, boom, come on down to Chevrolet. It's like, that you couldn't find a natural point.
Did you see that with the Saturday Night Live cold open a couple weeks ago? It was Sarah Sherman playing Nancy Grace.
Yes.
And and they would have Marcelo Hernandez doing those screaming like ad interruptions. Yep. Oh, it was wonderful touch.
All right, let's transition to our main topic. And our main topic, we're going to have a change of scenery, Randy.
Ooh,
so
right.
We're going to talk about the X-Men. And the only way you can talk about the X-Men is we have to go travel to the X-Mansion. It's currently one of the times where it's not destroyed, because both in the comics and the movies, that shit gets wrecked, like seemingly week to week. You should stop letting people know where you live, X-Men. It's not a good call. But we're going to travel in, but we're going to go deep into the basement. We're going to go into the danger room where you can simulate anything, right? You can simulate anything.
All right.
So we're going to go into the danger room, and we're sitting in the danger room, and now you can have any holographic display you want. And we're going to look at these things, and we're going to think, who would we cast in an X-Men movie that's being made today? None of our retro casts we've done in the past. So I want to give a little, preamble, though, to where we're at, the state of X-Men movies. Are you good with that? Or are you like, no, get on with it.
Okay. All right.
Get on with it. So I'm glad, because I was probably going to do it anyway, but then I thought, I didn't tell Randy about this. What if he's angry? He's like, I don't like this. I'm bored by this. I know
I'm going to keep a clock on this, but...
Oh, no. Okay. You're right. Actually, that's a good call. Whenever I cut my own stuff out of the episodes, it's almost inevitably I started talking about a comic book topic and I went 10 to 15 minutes too long. And then, like, what you hear in an episode is genuinely, I'd say, a quarter of what I do. And I've been real nervous about this one because I could fucking go. But we'll try to keep this concise. You know what, Randy? I wish you had like a button, like a ding, so that you could be like, Mike, it's time. You've hit your quota. All right. Anyway, but then you abuse the ding. I know you do. So.
Ding.
Yeah, motherfucker, I was just starting. So, what a dull bell, by the way. Ding.
That's how I feel. The bell feels the same way I do.
You got to buy a new bell. So the state of X-Men movies, we State of X-Men as a, I don't know, film and TV franchise has had a resurgence in 2024 because X-Men 97 on Disney Plus was a massive hit, the sequel to the 90s animated series. The comics are still chugging along. They just recently did every 10 to 15 years, they do let's start fresh and bring in new people. Whatever massive era we were in, we'll end it. We'll give a solid ending point to that story. We won't erase the continuity. They don't do that. But we'll make it so that we don't talk about that time as much so that new people can come in. And you knew that was going to happen because the X-Men are ramping up. Deadpool and Wolverine came out this year. So, they need a cleaner slate to bring in fans. And they're doing very well with that. The X-Men are coming back to prominence. In the 90s, Marvel sold off their comic books rights to movie companies. Sony got Spider-Man. Fox got Fantastic Four and X-Men. And like all things, they had to keep making movies to keep the rights, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, the X-Men rights eventually wound up back to Disney. But in the period when everyone was separate, when Marvel was chugging along with the MCU and Fox was still foxing, Marvel made the effort, a hard effort, to devalue the X-Men. Frankly, that's why we got the shitty Inhumans TV show. That's why we got the Eternals movie nobody liked. Everything Marvel was trying to do was create a team of people who were mutants, but they don't say they're mutants, to replace the X-Men. There was a moratorium placed on X-Men comic book creators in the, what do you call the 2010s? The 20 teens? What do you say that? Anyway, but 20...
10? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the late 2000s to, I don't know, early 20-teens. I don't know. This is going to bother me. I'll look it up later. So
I've just always heard 2010s, and I just assumed that's 2010s. What it was.
No, 2010s, right. Well, I think of 20-teens. I worry about myself.
I mean, from 2013 to 2019, it's not wrong, so.
Fair. So they made a conscious effort, though, to devalue the X-Men in the comics, where the comics creators were told, you are not allowed, this is true, this is on record, for years, X-Men comic book creators were not allowed to create new characters because they would then become the movie rights of Fox.
Oh,
so
okay.
There was this thing. You know how they say what is necessity is the mother of creation? Basically the fact that they were pigeonholed, they had to get more creative with what they had.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost tried to figure out how to adapt this for this movie. There's a really famous multi-year storyline where Beast, who's gone off the rails at stuff Cyclops has done, goes and brings the original 5 X-Men back from when they were teenagers to modern day to confront him, to be like, look what you've become, Cyclops. And this becomes this sprawling multi-year arc of people just making terrible decisions. But that's how they got around not being able to introduce new characters, is they brought in an entire variant team of existing characters and did back and forths. But that was all done just to fuck with the people making the movies. To be like, you can't. That said, the people making the movies didn't do themselves any favors. I think you may agree. For every good X-Men movie, I think you got 2 bad X-Men movies. There's X1 and X2 are great. X3 is fucking terrible. First Class and Days of Future Past are fantastic. And then everything else after that falls off. Apocalypse is maybe, but then the Dark Phoenix is just fucking god-awful.
Really bad, yeah.
Yeah. So...
What was and we don't count the Wolverine.
Oh, no, we count those.
Okay.
The Deadpool movies are pretty good, but they're almost in their own era. And the fact that they're making fun of what the movies became,
Sure.
And
Logan, right? Logan
is great, but the problem is the Wolverine is middling, and X-Men Origins Wolverine is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So it's a real mixed bag.
So I'm blanking now. So what's the difference between the Wolverine and the X-Men Origins one?
X-Men Origins is the shitty one with Deadpool before he was Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds, where they sew up his mouth and don't let him talk.
And the Wolverine's the one where he fights the
robot
businessman
Japan
that has the stuff? Yeah, okay, got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
It is
I was conflating them into one movie, but...
Oh, yeah, no. It is a better movie. However, it's not great. Right. That said, that means the franchise was in pretty dire straits when Marvel got a hold of it. There wasn't really an opportunity to shove the X-Men in anyway, because they got the rights on the build-up to Endgame. What are you going to do?
Right.
You started getting a couple cameos here and there, like Multiverse of Madness. They brought back Patrick Stewart as Xavier in the 90s yellow X-Men chair. And I feel like some people thought that was pandering. I popped. I loved it. It was a
Yeah,
5-minute scene.
that's what that's
I
for.
thought it was clever. You got Xavier in the yellow chair on screen at least once in our lives. I'll take it.
Sure.
You have Beast in, I think, the worst performing Marvel movie in recent memory, The Marvels. So, like, you got Beast in a multiverse post-credit scene that, frankly, I don't think anybody saw, so they don't know it exists. Like, if the X-Men start coming over into the MCU and they need to reference that scene, they're gonna have to remind people that happened.
Redo it, yeah.
Yeah. So that's tough. So the state of the X-Men movies is in shambles. The cartoons are doing well. The comics are plugging along. But that means it's time to start thinking about a new movie. So we're going to cast it. We're going to create it. And they will clearly take our advice. So everything that we talk about will happen. Mark my words right now.
All right.
So we have competing pitches. We may have overlapping actors. Who knows? That happens sometimes when we do these things. There's only so many bald actors in Hollywood that could be Xavier, you know? So, and then, now correct me if I'm wrong. I know we talked about this, but I worry it got lost in translation. You have come up with a basic plot outline. I know I did. Did you?
So I haven't. I didn't know that's what we were doing. So
no.
Well,
then we can use. I remember
we can
talking
just both
about
use
it at one
yours.
point.
That's fine.
Okay, so you had talked about some villains that you were going to cast at one point, which are nowhere near my movie. So that's why I thought maybe you had your own thing. So we can come up with something for you, Slugger. It'll be okay, little guy. The reason I thought that is I
just don't know the storylines well enough.
That's literally what I was going to say is
yeah.
Any movie you were going to put together, and I don't mean this derisively, genuinely, was going to be a takeoff on X-Men 97 or the very established continuity from the
stuff
movies
you've
that
already
everybody
seen,
knows. Magneto, Xavier, Apocalypse, the big stuff. So I will say I went deeper, but not so deep as to scare people away. That was actually a big part of my thing, is I wanted to introduce new lore and still bring in the casuals. So that was my thought process. I do not want and I know this is what we're going to get. So I'm saying I do not want, but I know what I'm going to get. I am so sick to death. We've talked about this with Batman movies. I don't want his origin. I don't want Spider-Man's origin. I don't want another movie focusing on Wolverine, Xavier, and Magneto. I want them in it. I want them to be a part of it. But if I don't want it. I've seen enough Wolverine now. And I've seen enough of Charles, you don't understand. Maybe one day, Eric, you'll understand. Got it. Got it. Copy you. Got it. Don't need it again. And listen, that'll always be a part of it and it'll be there. But I'm like, oh Christ, I don't need this. So let's hit some casting and we'll hit the plot details later and we'll see what shakes out and we'll do it. Do you have how do you want to do this? Do you just want to tell me your first person? Do you want me to throw out a character? And if you have it, you'll tell me. How do you want to handle this? We didn't plan our layout here.
We didn't. I kind of like that though. Once you throw out a character, and do you want to do it if you have him, who you did, and if I have him, what I did? Yeah, cool. I like that.
So we'll start with team leader, baby, who has also gotten a real push in the modern era because people saw how truly badass he is in X-Men 97. The old movies made him a whiny little bitch. Yep. Now people see Cyclops is my first
I've
X-Men,
got him as well.
X-Man, I should say. Even the women are X-Men. They say X-Men. Anyway, I really had a tough time with this because I was trying to figure out how old do I want this team to be?
Yeah.
Because are they just X-Men, like in X-Men 97, where the school has stopped being a school and it's just the house for the team? Or is it like the 2000s movies and the current comics where the school is very much an active school? And I decided that for this movie, the school is a very active school. Like they are teaching classes still, just like, in the movies the recent movies they did that. So I decided Cyclops is a teacher. So in my mind, that's going to put him in his 30s. He's been an X-Man for a while. I went with Zac Efron for Cyclops.
Okay.
I would have liked, my first thought was Justin Theroux. How old is Justin Theroux? He is 53. That is too old. 15 years ago, great pick. Zac Efron has the clean cut, just right amount of bulk, sharp chin, brown hair. He's a well put together generic white man. That's what Cyclops is. He's an amazing leader. He has great, constitution, a great person overall, except for when he cheats on his wife and his mental affairs and sends his baby into the future. Let's not worry about that. Overall, he's an okay guy. But I shouldn't have said any of that. He's really a terrible human who tries his best, like us all. But I thought Zac Efron, to me, I could see him with the visor and that face. It's the face with the visor that I was picturing, and I get it. Who's your choice? Who would you cast?
So, and I just commenting briefly, I thought the way that it was presented in the original Fox X-Men movies was not great in terms of how they showcased the character, but the visual look of James Marsden was pretty good. So I think Zac Efron has a similar look to James Marsden. So I think that fits really well. So that's why I'm complimenting your selection.
You're 100%. No, I'm saying it breaks my heart the way he was treated in that original set of films, because he was perfect of the era casting. And he could have done so much with that character, and he's a good actor, and it all just fell apart. He was never used right. And anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
I got a guy he's in his early to mid 40s.
Okay.
And has shown that he can kind of bulk up, get really in shape for movies. I think he looks the part. I think it's a little bit odd just because he is known for being really expressive with his eyes and his acting. I picked Jake Gyllenhaal for Cyclops, which I thought was interesting.
I like that. The only thing, and listen, how often does this stop people in making movies? My fear is he too old? I thought about him. He's
44, so.
And I thought about it not just from, this is so lame the way I'm going to say this. I thought about it not just from this movie standpoint, but if we want them to make 3 or 4 of these, we need to lock them down to make.
How old Zac Efron?
Zac Efron is 37.
Okay.
I think so. Like it's, he's that mid 30s range. Yeah, 37. Right. Correct.
Okay.
So I just thought, but I do see it when I'm looking at a picture of Jake Gyllenhaal right now. I see it too. It's the same face, and he's probably a better actor than Zac Efron because he's Jake Gyllenhaal. It's just a tough. I don't know. What do you think? What's your go-to between the two? Gut reaction.
This is one of those. I think it's 2 good selections. I think I like Zac Efron a little bit better just from that we can continue to market it through that. I don't think we wouldn't not market it from Jake Gyllenhaal, but I think
and you could probably, you'd lock him down. Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man into his 50s, right? So
yeah, sure.
I just don't really want that for some of these characters if we were to do it.
Yeah.
So, and am I taking some of the fun out of movie making and fan casting by trying to think of legitimate business reactions to this? Maybe not. I think it's an added element if you're going to real world fan cast. It's a wrinkle you have to think of.
That's how these are remembered, though. So.
Yep. So we're gonna cast Zac Efron. That's official.
Yes, we could do that.
What was the last thing you said? I was talking over you.
I said, just looking ahead. My Jean Grey is not going to work, but we'll see.
All right. So do you want to? Let's ping pong as we do. Give me your Jean Grey then.
So, and she's in her mid to late 40s, so I don't know. Although, I mean.
Listen, if you look the part, it doesn't
sometimes
matter.
It's the visual. I mean, because how old is Jennifer Garner? And she looked great in Deadpool and Wolverine. So
she'll be fine.
I'm picking a little bit offbeat here, but I'm going with Emily Deschanel.
Really?
From Bones, and she's been in not a whole lot of other stuff. But I was trying to think of someone who was a little bit taller and who I thought
was a baller, where she had a phone and was calling.
Yes.
Where are we
at?
Black Hat?
Yes. But I also thought she has this kind of quiet confidence that I think is really good for Jean Grey. Like can showcase a lot of power without going over the top. And for some reason, her line of acting, whether maybe it's just that character in Bones and a couple other things I've seen her in, I think she could exude that type of stuff. Now you can refute me if you like, but I thought it was.
I'm looking at photos, reminding myself. I like your pick better than my pick. I will lay mine out. And there's the movie plot that I'm going to detail needs Jean Grey in a very powerful leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it more from your casting pick than my casting pick by a mile.
Okay.
And I don't mind. Normally in the comics, I think Scott is a little older than Jean, but who fucking cares? It doesn't. But I like yours. I'll detail mine. I'm going to write yours down.
Okay.
So mine is, I got to make sure I'm saying her name right, but it's Victoria Pedretti. Not 100% sure how you say it. Did you watch the show You with the Joe Goldberg show? She's Love in You. She's Love Quinn. So
okay, interesting.
It was more her look that I was going for, because I see it as a younger, I say younger, but relative to Zac Efron and this and that in the face. And she's got the I don't like talking about people's looks. It's so weird because I don't want to have my looks talked about. I hate it. But it's not a positive or negative. When I look at Jean Grey, you see faces of her with the longer neck, the slightly elongated face, the hair down, and I saw it as Jean Grey. There's a photo, if you do an image search of her, that I was like, God, there it is. It's like an Instagram photo of her in like a black sweater. And it's like, I see Jean Grey there so close.
Okay.
But I also see it in your pick. And I also see more air of authority, which I really want for the story I want to lay out.
Sure. Okay.
So we'll go with your Jean Grey. You did it. We did it. So my next character I'll toss out. And it's up to you if you want to do the full makeup treatment or a CGI treatment. We can figure it out. I was thinking motion caps or CGI.
Yep, me too.
I want Cillian Murphy as Beast.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Do you have a Beast? Did you cast a Beast?
I do, and I picked Timothée Chalamet for Beast.
Oh, no. I hate that. Sorry, I hate that. I hate that so much.
Why?
He doesn't have gravitas. He's too young. I hate all of that.
If we're CGI, and I mean, we could do a lot of stuff with. I mean,
the voice. I want fine. You CGI it. I want the voice. I want Cillian Murphy's delivery for Beast. Think about Kelsey Grammer in X-Men: Last Stand. He was another of his time perfect casting because of how he talked and his voice and that. If we're updating something for the modern era, I'll stop rambling and you really stop and think about it. Do you get that more from Cillian Murphy or Timothée Chalamet?
I have the Chalamet has the kind of very quiet, that's how I was seeing any of the scientific readings, anything that's delivered without any real bias at time. I saw that from him in a lot of his delivery. If you see more of that from
I personally
Peaky Blinders, go for it.
No, I see it more as Oppenheimer. I see it because Beast is a scientist. Beast creates. Beast, maybe this is my comics influence going through. Beast has a real dark side that he's grappling with, where there's a reason, even in the movies, there's a reason he winds up becoming a blue monster when that was not his original mutation, because Beast goes a little bit too far and doesn't always know when to stop. And I see it more from an older, wizened Cillian Murphy than I do with Timothée Chalamet. But I won't stop. I can stop this. If we could go back and forth this all day, we obviously have to pick somebody at some point. I'm personally not swayed, but I'm also not you're playing in my sandbox end of story. I want to, do this fair.
My reasoning behind it is I saw more of and this may play more into the storyline you're pitching me, where Beast is going more off the rails than the cartoon version of the Beast that I was, and that may have been part of it, is I was more playing into that version of it where he's trying to do the greater good, everything, and so it's more of the innocence of the eyes and the delivery from Chalamet. That's more how I was playing it for that, but
that is actually more of the version of the character I put in my pitch, where he's a voice of reason in an insane situation.
But the weathered version does play into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a more the wizened, weathered version. So I think that I just have a younger version of that maybe, and we're looking more towards the the book learned, educated,
here's what
been through some shit guy. So
here's what I'm gonna do. And this could be a real risk for me moving forward. I'm going to give you one retaliation putting your foot down. That if I disagree with your casting and you say, no, this is where I'm putting my foot down, it will be your choice. I wouldn't do
it here, so.
No, this is where I'm putting my foot down. That means you get one.
This is your one? All right.
Yes. That's why I'm introducing this thought, because I do not want Timothée Chalamet as.
All right.
This is my moment. I'm putting my fucking foot down.
You need like this graphic.
Yeah, so
Mike, foot down.
I'll make something, and it'll be a photo. It'll be that same photo of you I use for any animation I need with you that's 15 years old, and it's going to be me squishing you. If you go to YouTube or watch the Spotify video version, I promise you, unlike last week when I said I promised I'd make the baby
Picture is only
image
11 years old.
That's fine. I'm just going to have an animation of me squishing that Randy over and over. In our last episode,
Foot, like Monty Python?
Yes, exactly. I said, I promised it'll be a picture of Baby Chef, and I put up a big graphic that said photo not found. Don't worry about that. This time I'm going to do it. This time, if you go to YouTube and Spotify, you're just going to see Randy get squished and squished
over
and squished
and over and over.
Ends. Okay, we can move on now. So,
all right, so I forget, how many of these are we doing? How many?
We had said like 8 X-Men, and we could do some cameos and a couple of villains. Okay. But I also don't mind just kind of calling an audible and casting a bunch of random people that we have.
All right.
Like we had structure, but structure's for the birds.
Let's keep going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's go Gambit next.
Okay.
I'm going to pick Austin Butler for Gambit.
I got to look him up. I know that name. Oh, he's Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Actually, that's better than mine too. You're going to have it. That's okay. You can have it all right, because my Gambit, I was going to tell you right now, is just a cameo. He's not a main character in the movie I planned in my head. However, much like all X-Men things, I think you cameo these people and you bring them in, because if X-Men's become the X-Men, that team roster is constantly changing. You saw it in X-Men 97. One of my favorite things they did is, as the roster evolved throughout the season, they updated the opening credits with who was on the team. I thought that was very clever. So it wasn't just the standard. So you start bringing people in now, and, it's going to work out. I didn't have a good Gambit, and because he was a cameo, and because he technically hasn't done it in a real movie, I was going to say, fuck it, give Channing Tatum his shot. Let him have it. Let him do his movie. Let him come in and do another cameo. It's just a cameo. He can just keep cameoing his Gambit till the end of time. But I forgot Austin Butler existed. He's got the look. He's got the shape. He can do a weird little Southern accent. So I hope he doesn't get stuck in Gambit's Creole like he got stuck in Elvis's. Did you hear about that? Did you ever see that? So for anyone to know, he said he did the Elvis accent for so long that he couldn't stop doing it off camera. Like it was just his voice. And I would like that to become Gambit now. But no, I like that. Your Austin Butler choice is way better than my Channing Tatum, because my Channing Tatum was just kind of a gimme.
Yeah.
So I would then pivot, as long as we're doing Gambit. Yep. We got to do Rogue next, because they're a package deal.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I will say Rogue is also a cameo for me. They're a package deal cameo. But that's just in my mind. We can bump them up. We'll have negotiations. We'll rewrite the script at some point. There's sequels. We'll figure it out. Yep. But my Rogue is Alexandra Daddario. So there you go. I see it. She's hot as hell. She's got this thing with the eyes, right? It's something with the eyes. This unattainable nature, as weird as that sounds. I just have this thing of like, she is a gorgeous, gorgeous woman with deep emotional eyes who you can't get near. And I'm just like, I like that. I like that.
The first Percy Jackson movie was hot garbage, but she was very good as a superhero goddess. Nice. In that movie as well. So.
Never saw that. I think you brought them up before, and I've never. Is that one of the ones where the franchise only got like 2 movies, and so the story never got finished, but nobody cares because no one saw them?
Nobody cared.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Who's your Rogue then?
I liked the idea just because of her being one of the best actresses of this time frame and generation, but I picked Emma Stone for Rogue, which I'm not sure 100% works, but I thought it was interesting. I think yours is better, but I
do like mine more this time, personally. Mm-hmm. I'm looking it over. I just don't see
she's kind of she's petite, I don't know, she's
that's
almost
the problem.
Too frail.
She's too frail to me to be Rogue. She's Rogue is buffer, and it's she's too tiny.
Well, I was thinking we could get her on then like Natalie Portman, like Thor: Love and Thunder workout plan or something. So because
I love that your casting was like, Emma, you're in, get to work. I like you. Get to work.
Well,
We
I
had
mean,
someone else
just
that might be able to do it.
also
Get to work.
because you can't deny the Austin Butler and Emma Stone scenes. Hell yeah, that's our. Not that.
I'd say I think I still like it the other way. So
Yeah, that's true.
I personally like my choice more, but I've already put my foot down.
No,
So
this isn't gonna be the one I was gonna do that on. So I like your choice. That's a good one. I
okay,
was not thinking about
cool,
her.
excellent. Then Rogue Gambit taken care of. So
All right, just we have to get him in this movie because he's one of the biggest movie stars going on right now. We have to catch him at the apex, the
are we bringing Timothy
at his
Chalamet back?
hottest.
Are you
No, no,
forcing
no.
him in on me somewhere?
I got Iceman. He's gonna be Glenn Powell.
Oh, I got to look up who that is. I know that name.
Twisters and what else is he in? That one show.
Oh, that's a good choice. I think I like your choice more on this one because I I got to look up my photo again, and I feel like everyone's going to be like, "Wait a minute, that bug-eyed little freak from Love Actually." I'm like, "No, look at him today. I see it." I was thinking Thomas Brody Sangster, but like as an adult, not looking like an alien from Roswell in Love Actually. So I just he's to me, Iceman has always been skinny, a little younger, brown hair, and I do see that from yours. And
hmm
it's a tough call for me, but yours is probably better. And especially because in my mind, he is still a founding X-Man. So I think he needs to have a little bit more, I don't know, meat on the bone, a little more age compared to,
Yep.
like, how old is Thomas Brody Sangster? Because they might be the same age, but he looks way younger.
I mean, when was Love Actually? 94, and he was
He's
like
3 years,
10
so
then.
he's 34. Glenn Powell's 37, which puts him
Hmm.
at the same age as
Okay,
Zac
so they're pretty
Efron,
close.
and they were founding X-Men together, so that works for me. I will
Cool.
go with Glenn Powell as Iceman. I like that
Love
a
it.
lot. The
Okay.
original 5 founding X-Men were Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, Angel, and Professor X was there. For what I've laid out movie-wise, again, we're getting there, guys. We'll get to the plot details. Let's cast it first.
Yeah.
We're casting this without a script. That's how much they trust us. It's great. But I wanted Angel to have a cameo. And I assume you remember Angel from the cartoons and the movie. Big guy with wings.
More know him as Archangel, yeah, but yeah.
Yes. So Angel eventually becomes Archangel because of the corruption of Apocalypse. In the comics, it's because what is it? Oh, he is fighting somebody and his wings get literally ripped off. And he has no idea what he is without his wings. In the movies, it's usually, I don't want my wings, get rid of them. And he gets tricked and he becomes a thing. In the comics, it's much sadder because all he wants is his powers back. And Apocalypse is like, yo, bro, I'll hook you up. And it does not go well. But because of that, I want Angel in this. I assume you didn't do an Angel?
I didn't. Okay. After I hear yours, I might come with one off the cuff, but
my Angel was Joe Keery from Stranger Things. Just I don't know. I can't place why. It's a very small part in my thing. It's a cameo. There's something about you've seen Joe Keery's like his big ass hair. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That every instance of the comics that I remember with Archangel, he's had that hair. Like in my mind, he'll put his costume on and it'll cover a lot of it up. He'll have like the ring around his head and stuff, so you won't see it. But there are comics, especially from the 90s, where he has, I swear to God, it's that haircut. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And if you look up Joe Keery, you'll see it immediately for anyone that needs to look up Joe Keery. You'll just see that haircut. And I'm like, that's fucking Angel. Throw some wings on that guy, color his hair blonde, because Angel's blonde, you're good to go.
Nice.
And that was really a cameo I was probably going to save for later, but we'd already detailed 4 of the 5 founding X-Men, so I just wanted to get that out. Back to the main cast of our actual movie, who do you have next?
Let's get Wolverine out of the way. I had 2 choices here, which is cheating, but
I'm pretty angry about it.
I don't know if I like either of them, but we'll see. The first one I had was Rob McElhenney.
My gut reaction is no, but please sell me on it.
More the look. He would have to, now, to be fair, he would have to tap more into a dramatic performance than we've ever seen from him.
Considerably.
But the Philadelphia background of him, the what I've seen from him in Welcome to Wrexham, there's some things that I think are just personally that I think he could bring out in acting. I think a lot of it is the look, because I think the look could be achieved with him, but does the acting match?
It's so funny. The acting is a concern for me, but I know on Always Sunny he did like the weight fluctuations, and I'm
Mhm.
at Google image search right now, and there's an article that came up in this that he actually looks the most like Wolverine to me before he shredded himself again, and he's still got some of the gut. There's this image of him with his beard and a white tank top, and he's looking scruffy and rough, and that to me is a Wolverine.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, he'd lose the weight in this, but it's like I am not seeing that image of him with the beard and the tank top and putting it more what you would be used to seeing Logan as. I'm
Yep.
not as repulsed as when you first said it. I would like you to know that.
Fair
So,
enough.
but I would like to hear your other choice.
The other choice, and he might be too old, because I didn't realize how old he was until I looked it up. So, which is maybe a credit to him. Norman Reedus.
Oh, I feel like you're picking a lot of wiry guys for Wolverine that I'm not sure how I feel about it. I I had to look at him here. I know Norman Reedus. He's fucking what's his nuts from The Walking Dead.
Daryl Dixon. Yep.
Daryl Dixon. Yeah, so I didn't watch that show after season 2. It lost me so hard. I'm looking. I'll tell you, I like Rob McElhenney more than I like
Okay.
this, but I'm not. Sell me a Norman Reedus. Tell me why. Tell me why you want him to be
So,
Wolverine.
in multiple things I've seen, remember he was in Boondock Saints as well, which I think is another thing you
Oh
don't
yeah.
like that I do. But
Yep, confirmed.
he has the very quiet, simmering kind of beneath the scene, but it can explode at times. I don't know. I'd be curious to see it. This is so tough because Hugh Jackman was perfect, and it's hard to unthink anything else and rethink something else. To say, how can we have someone that perfectly encapsulates the rage, but also at the same time has kind of and that's the thing. A lot of times, and I think of it from Walking Dead. He had a lot of kind of snarky, I don't give a shit, one-off like jokey things at
You
people in the
you
heart
are
of like
right. You
something
are
very
right.
competitive, something very stressful, and he was still the person who's like, I don't give a fuck. And so I think that
That is
there
true. That is
brings
such
him.
a Daryl is Logan-esque. You're so right. You're so right. Ah, God, I'm dying. Sorry, I cut you off because I got excited to cut you off because of how much I suddenly agreed with you on something. It got me. Keep going. I'm sorry.
That no, I mean that's the main part of it. So is I could see a lot of that coming through. Now it's the rest of it. Is the look perfect? No, but I mean that's hard to tell.
Makeup.
If we get right, I mean if we do a different wig, if he gets, you can glue on sideburns and shit. I mean just so, but
I feel like your gut reaction to my pick is going to be no, but I want to lay it out. And I think it might be no simply based on his recent acting history, where
Mhm.
you're like, you can't do that or something. But I want Tom Hardy as Wolverine because I do want somebody a little older than the rest of the team because he should be older than all the other X-Men.
I feel like that's
He
cheating.
how? He was Venom. He's not Wolverine.
Well, no, I know, but like, are we trying to avoid other superhero like that you're really well known for?
When did we ever say that? I'm trying to pick the best X-Men movie. Fuck
Oh,
Spum. Fuck.
all right.
I stole that from the. Sorry, I stole that from another podcast. The Sony Pictures Universal Marvel movie Spum. I stole that
Gotcha.
from the Weekly Planet show because it's perfect. But we're gonna pretend those don't exist.
I was
It's
trying
gonna
to
be
avoid
fine.
that, so clearly you
I
are
don't remember us
abiding
talking
by a
about
different
that.
group of rules. So
Although
that's
that
fine.
said, that's exactly why I said I think you're gonna say no to this. That's literally why I said say no to this. We didn't talk about it, but I had a feeling you'd have that kind of reaction. But like, look at a picture of Tom Hardy, and Hugh Jackman was so great performance wise, but Wolverine, if you got that angry, slightly more stout, bulky Wolverine on screen that could
Mhm.
still give that type of range of performance with jokes and gruffness, and I see it and I want it, but I'd like Norman Reedus too,
Yeah.
performance wise. I like Rob McElhaney body-wise. I love Tom Hardy look-wise, but I don't know. This is tough because, again, looks, whatever aside, they made it work for Hugh Jackman. The fact that he was a foot taller than the character, this or that. He embodied the character. He was so good. You can't do this without a Wolverine now. I'm stuck. I'm stuck.
Yeah, I guess between makeup and everything, we can do Tom Hardy.
Are you sure? I'm not pressuring you into this one. This is me asking you.
No,
if you were to
this is the one when I picked him, I didn't like him. So
okay.
it's, I mean, I like concepts of it.
Okay, so this is my question then. If you were to sit down in a makeup chair and you made up Norman Reedus and Tom Hardy side by side, and you think they'll both give a decent performance, which one do you see more as Wolverine? Personally, I see Tom Hardy more, but I want you to do that visual exercise and you tell me what you're thinking.
So for me, I get more manic from Tom Hardy than, I mean, is that, you tell me, is that Wolverine? Is he, or can he get that way?
I just think you're thinking of Eddie Brock is the problem. You're thinking of him as Venom, right?
I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. Is he going to be that?
No, but there is some berserker rage
too
in there. Yeah, he's quiet and grumbly. Norman Reedus this is where I'm stuck. I actually think you're right that Norman Reedus would be the superior performance between the two. I'm just stuck on the look where I think it's Tom Hardy, and I don't know what to do. I do think Norman Reedus would be the superior performance.
Can we dub his voice to Tom Hardy?
God.
I can't get past the voice with Tom Hardy for some. I know not the British part of it, but even his American accent, I'm not sure.
So I like that here's what we're going to do. We're going to say Norman Reedus, but we're going to say it right now, listeners, viewers. Neither one of us love this choice. Neither one of us love this as Wolverine.
This is very possible Eric Stoltz Back to the Future.
Yeah, like we're going to do a day's shooting and be like, actually, didn't they start shooting Wolverine with Doug Ray Scott? Or did he not get to shoot it?
Oh, I don't know that.
Because Doug Ray Scott was the original Wolverine, and something happened, and he got replaced by Hugh Jackman. Did they ever shoot anything with him, or did it happen beforehand? No, he never actually shot anything. But that's what I'm saying is there is a precedent to casting a Wolverine and making a late change. So we could follow in the footsteps of history. Norman, it's your gig for now. Maybe, here's what I recommend, bud. Sign a pay or play. Sign a pay or play, because you might not be playing
no matter what.
Sandbox. Yeah, you're going to want this. So
get on for the royalties, and then
yes. Somehow get one of those deals where if you get cut from the movie, you still get like 1% of the box office. You'll be making money from it. So moving on from Wolverine, though, let's go with another classic team member, another diehard one. I know you'll have Storm. You have to have a Storm.
I do.
Who's your Storm?
Slightly left field, but I liked the projection of the voice, the ability to kind of command. I saw this in Dreamgirls. You see this in the Target commercials. I'm going with Jennifer Hudson for Storm.
Interesting. I see it. I do, actually. I see it, and I could do it. I see it. Like, it's not, it's not, unlike a couple of the other ones, there's no instant revolt. I do, however, like my pick a little more.
All right.
And I it's also very of the moment. She's very hot right now. My goodness. But I saw her with her bald head. Cynthia Erivo? Is it Erivo or Erivo? Who is currently in Wicked. She's the Wicked Witch in Wicked. So it was Elphaba. She's Elphaba in Wicked. So I saw her with the bald head. And you might think of Storm with the flowing white hair and all that. And she'd be great with that. But I thought of 80s punk rock Storm with the black jacket, the white mohawk, and it's all I could see. It's like, oh, fuck. And you know she's got the gravitas. You know she's got the emotion. And between the two, again, I like mine more this time, but I'm willing to talk about it. She's...
How tall is Storm in the comics?
Let me think.
That is my only slight...
Storm in the comics is 5'11". So how tall? I mean, are we? Also, by the way, we had 20 years of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, so don't fucking give me this shit. So Cynthia Erivo is 5'1".
I think it's different when one is taller than when they're normally shorter, though. I maybe that's heightest or something. I don't know.
Heightest. We're both tall people, so who can we judge? You know.
I like my pick, but I would concede to yours. But we have to be. I don't want the cop out of. Now she's just shorter. I think we'd have to shoot it selectively.
No, let's go Jennifer Hudson. I'm
okay.
I'm looking at it. You've conceded to a couple of mine without foot downs. You've been very kind. This isn't me.
No, I think yours is a great pick for everything except for that. And if she wasn't almost 6 feet tall in the comics, and I know the Wolverine argument.
No, you're right. You're right. I get it. It's
although Halle Berry is like 5'3", so who knows?
Yeah. What the? How tall is? Yeah, motherfucker, you almost had me. Halle Berry is 5'5", so
5'5". Oh, okay. She's how tall is your? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name.
Cynthia Erivo. And I may not be saying her last name properly. I apologize.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But she's 5'1", so that is pretty tiny. You're right. She's too small. She's too small.
I only knew that because she was always the same height as Ariana Grande, who I knew was really tiny too.
There you go. You're right. So that's probably why they look so great together on screen.
Yep.
So, but you're absolutely right. I think she would have nailed the performance. I think she would have been so fucking good. But you're right.
This is a musical number. Well, actually, no. Jennifer Hudson's gonna sing. Never mind.
There you go. Yeah. So what are you talking about? You literally just cast Jennifer Hudson. You're right. Both performance, gravitas, and height. Jennifer Hudson is.
If we get variants in the mix, I'm all in on yours.
Let's stand down for the multiverse for a fucking while, okay? We don't need that. MCU did not do well from it. Can we back off on that for a while, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's do Jubilee. I'm gonna very much zig here, but go for it.
I don't have a Jubilee. I didn't put Jubilee in my movie. I didn't cast a Jubilee. I do have a younger. So I grew up with Jubilee in the comics. She was my young entry point character because there's always kind of a young entry point character to a lot of X-Men media. But the one I prefer, the one that grew up to be a teacher, the one that has in my mind, a much better character arc overall is Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, who was played by Elliot Page in the 2000s movies and Days of Future Past. I did cast a Kitty Pryde. I'll get to that later. So how about, because you probably didn't cast Kitty Pryde, right?
Correct. Yep.
You do your Jubilee. I'll do my Kitty Pryde, because they probably have similar roles to some degree in the story.
Gotcha.
So you do your Jubilee and I'll do my Kitty Pryde.
Am I going to get backlash because she is...
You need an Asian American to play Jubilee. You have to have an Asian American to play Jubilee.
If I have to, yes. And I can't zag and
you
cast
can't
somebody
have
else?
Sean Connery in makeup play Jubilee like it's a 1960s James Bond movie. I'm sorry.
I was going to try and zig. I could probably actually push my person towards Kitty Pryde. So who
is going to be your Jubilee?
My pick is Zendaya.
Okay, two things. One, you just gave me the fucking Tom Hardy argument. Oh, he's she's literally in the MCU, you motherfucker. She's literally in the MCU, you hypocrite.
She's not a superhero.
She's Mary Jane.
That's not a superhero.
She's the main love interest of fucking Spider-Man. You fucking hypocrite.
I did not pick a superhero.
You knew what you were saying. You fucking hypocrite. Also, no, Jubilee has to be Asian American.
All right, I've been canceled. Let's just move on.
I don't mean it like that. It's just you can't change the history of the character, especially when it wasn't really played up in the TV show, but in the comics, it's something that they've explored. You can't do it, bud. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would, however, give it to you for Kitty Pryde, and she could be a good Kitty Pryde. You're 100% correct. I could see that. I still don't like it because she's fucking Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies. And you just gave me shit over Tom Hardy, who isn't even in the MCU, you fuck.
That's not true.
But that cameo that they're going to pretend never happened? Yeah, okay, great. Cool beans. So, wow, you hypocrite. So, sorry. So worked up now. Now, only of your mentalities. You've had some fine picks. My Kitty Pryde. Oh no. Oh no. I think she's in the MCU. I just forgot she existed in the MCU. I'm Googling right now.
All right.
Fuck! I don't have a Kitty Pryde. I didn't think about it. Like, I forgot this existed. I didn't cast her thinking, oh, she can do another thing. I cast her because of the state of modern Marvel, where they give you so much shit that you forget a show happened because it was a Disney Plus show. Fuck.
Oh, did you do Steinfeld?
Yes, I did Haley Steinfeld, and I forgot she's fucking Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. So, because there's so much fucking Marvel content.
That would have been good, yeah.
It would have been good. And I was going back and forth on it last night, like to the moment of like, I gotta have a Kitty Pryde. And I still want a Kitty Pryde. I have to have a Kitty Pryde.
Can I sell you?
Shit. Yeah. What do you got?
On Selena Gomez.
Let me look her.
I'm trying to find actresses that
maybe
pop, but that that haven't been used in other things or that haven't been involved in other Marvel properties.
Hang on. She's a little too young. So, spoiler looking ahead. A part of what I want that I've never seen properly put to screen is one of the longest running X-Men comics romances is Colossus and Kitty Pryde. Mm-hmm. And I want that in my fucking movie. So I have also cast a Colossus. I don't know if you did a Colossus. Probably not. But,
no, but I can adapt one of my... I like I said, I cast a couple of villains, so I could adapt one of my villains to...
Okay. So
not the Colossus is a villain, obviously.
Right. Well, though, in the 90s. Let me take you on a 10-minute tangent I said I wouldn't do. So anyway, I won't do that. Anyway, at one point in the mid-90s, around the 30th anniversary of the X-Men, Colossus decided that he didn't believe in Xavier's dream anymore, and he joined up with Magneto and became an acolyte. It lasted for a few years. Anyway, good times. So you have that. You can always pull from that. Anyway, here's 15 more minutes on that. So I can't help myself. So my thought was, I really like Rachel Zegler, but she's only 23, and I worry, is that too young? So she'd be an amazing, I think, Kitty Pryde. But the Colossus I was thinking of, my original Colossus pick would be Drew McIntyre from the WWE. Because buff as hell, got the right head shape, he can act. Figure out something with the accent, because he's got to have the Russian accent. But you throw him in some CGI metal when the powers cover his body because he turns into solid steel and can fight that way. I'm like, Drew McIntyre would look like a badass Colossus. However, he's way too old for a lot of our Shadowcat picks at this point. Shadowcat being the other name for Kitty Pryde. Who's your choice? Who do you adapt for a Colossus? I need a Colossus.
So I think it's St. Owl's Drew McIntyre because mine's probably too old too. So
39.
Yeah. So my pick he's in his early 40s. So that wouldn't work either. So I was going to pick Alan Richardson, who is in the Reacher series.
What's their name? Alan Richardson?
Richardson. RITCH.
I have never seen this person before in my life. I have no idea who this is. However, holy shit, they're a perfect Colossus.
He's a giant human being. So
that's
part of the whole thing.
Money.
And
he is money. Who are you adapting from one of your possible villains? Who are you stealing him from?
Apocalypse. So
could we have him? Can I have him for Colossus?
Sure, yeah.
And we just got to figure out a Kitty Pryde because I need a Kitty Pryde. / we could maybe do a Jubilee. We'll figure something out here, but I would love to have Colossus on my main team, and so I'd love to adapt.
Would need somebody more in like a early 30s.
Yeah, probably. If you still do the age difference, and that way it's an age difference that you don't have to address, but it can still be existing. So Alan Richardson as Colossus, by the way, for anyone that got lost in that fucking twist and turn. We started casting Jubilee and wound up casting Alan Richardson as Colossus. Now we're dialing back to try to figure out a Kitty Pryde, possibly a Jubilee also.
How about Elvis's granddaughter, Riley Keough? She's 35, so...
Oh, she's a good-looking Kitty Pryde. I like that. I see it in the face immediately. What do I know her from? This is going to sound ridiculous. The thing I immediately recognized her from. She was in, and I think we've talked about it before, when we talked about Pacino. briefly. She was in the Paterno movie, that HBO movie with Al
Oh
Pacino as
yeah,
Joe Paterno.
the one that was sort of based on Fleetwood Mac, like the sort of that was on
Oh
Amazon Prime. She
yeah.
was
You
the
told me
lead.
to
So
watch that, and I never did. I
Daisy
need to watch that.
something. I'm yeah.
What the hell was that called? Now I don't remember. But no, you know what? That's a great choice. That's a great shout. I love that, and because of that, I want to help you find a Jubilee. We can find a Jubilee. The problem is every Asian American actress that I know well, or half Asian American actress know well, they're all too fucking old for what I'm picturing Jubilee as. So the question is she a student? Is she staff? Is she like, do you want teenage Jubilee? Or do you want, she's been an X-Men for a hot minute and she's like a junior member of the staff. She's been with the team. Like, what are you looking for out of a Jubilee?
Yeah, and I think more of it is it became from my knowledge of kind of watching X-Men and then X-Men 97, but which would lend it more. That was more just why I was trying to find someone to
Fair.
portray that. But
Also, is she going
I,
to become a vampire like she eventually did in the comics? Did I ever tell you that? Jubilee
you
briefly
did.
became a vampire. And I say briefly, it lasted several years. And then she
Sure.
adopted a baby. His name is Shogo. Anyway, continue. The real question, too, is now I'm just thinking, and this is me overthinking, Shogo, or her relationship with Shogo would actually explain, ooh, I like this a lot. A quick aside to my plot idea. To help break up the film and to give us a bigger team of people, I had one team that's sort of like a field team out doing something, and one team that's kind of back at the school handling something. And Jubilee not being in the field could be easily explained by the fact that she's staying at the school because her kid is there. And that could also add stakes to Jubilee being in the movie because whatever's happening at the school, Shogo's there and she's got to take care of her fucking baby. So I like that idea. I just talked
There you
myself
go.
into Jubilee having a better role in the movie because as a staff member at the school.
All right.
So the catch is, if we're putting a lot of our and they don't have to be exact, if we're putting a lot of our seasoned staff X-Men in their late 30s, in my mind, then Jubilee needs to be like early 30s, and every actress I'm thinking of is still in that 36, 37 range. Like, I thought immediately, I was like, Vanessa Hudgens, fucking money. I think she'd be such a good Jubilee, 36. But also, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if we're putting in this role. Like, people would know. She's 36, she's playing 30, whatever. I think Vanessa Hudgens can pull off 30. She's doing fine.
I think I like that, yeah, because the one that I was coming up with was Constance Wu from like Crazy Rich Asians, Fresh Off the Boat. But she's in her early 40s, I believe. That would be a little bit of a stretch to play.
Yeah. Are you good with Vanessa Hudgens as a
Yeah, I think that's a
Jubilee?
good one. Yeah.
All right, cool. Because that was my thought. I hadn't looked at casting a Jubilee because I'm not a big Jubilee fan, to be honest.
Right.
But you've talked me into the character is well known. If we're talking the logistics of the franchise, you would be able to put a trailer shot in with the fireworks powers. People would know who it is without having to say it. I love
The
Kitty
glasses
Pryde.
down.
Exactly. I love Kitty Pryde. And she's got a great arc and a great character. But
Yep.
even in the movies, Kitty Pryde was played, I think, by 3 different people across 4 different movies. Elliot
Right.
Page is the only person that came back twice. And Elliot Page only came back at Days of Future Past because they were a no-name actor who was Kitty Pryde in X-Men 3. And they're like, oh, fuck, they got famous? Yeah, come on back. Come be Kitty
Yeah.
Pryde. This would be
Yeah.
great. So, yeah, that's I like that. I still want them in the movie, but Vanessa Hudgens is Jubilee. I'm glad we got there. We got
Great.
there, man. We got there. So I only have, let me look up,
I only have Xavier left, but
2 more team members I wanted, one of which is a pretty famous X-Man, very well known. We've joked about him. He's great in the cartoon. I got to have Nightcrawler in this movie. Nightcrawler's got to be in the fucking movie. And he's a main member of the team. I'm surprised you didn't include Nightcrawler. He, especially in X-Men 97, became such a big part of the team. He was in the main credits by the end of the show.
I think in our initial conversations, we were saying just with like keep to 8. And so once I had gotten to 10, I was kind of like, so
You're right. And he was a part of my original 8 pitch. We've just expanded so much.
Gotcha.
We just keep going. Yeah, there's too many X-Men. So, but I want Nightcrawler. He would obviously have to be, well, you could try makeup, because Alan Cumming was so great in X2. Like, what they did with the makeup for him is fantastic. I imagine in this day and age, it'd probably become more CGI, but I would want my person doing the full motion capture, and I want the voice because he is German. I want this one. I was going to say, can you give me this because he's not on camera? I want Daniel Bruhl, who's also Zemo in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Okay.
But you won't see his face. It won't look like Zemo. You won't see Zemo. It won't be Daniel Bruhl.
But just that, yeah. Okay.
And he can do, I want that German voice and that performance. And if you can't give me Daniel Bruhl, since it's voice only, I'm bringing in Christoph Waltz. If I got to pivot to that, I'll give you Christoph Waltz. So
I guess he's already in it. I would have maybe thrown Ross Marchand in there just because I thought he was very good as Red Skull in Avengers. So I think he could do another.
Ross Marchand. Oh, was he the
Walking Dead guy, and then he does he came in and did the voice of when
I was about to say
what's his name didn't
I
do
would
Red
give
Skull,
you that as a pass because everyone they did that so seamlessly. I was like, did they get Hugo Weaving back for Red Skull? So like to say that it's somebody that's a freebie because so many people, including myself, were like, did they get him back? That's amazing.
And he's doing a different voice. It's not like he's doing his own voice. So.
Exactly. So
but I have no qualms with your pick. So
you're okay with giving me that since it's voice only and we're not fighting all of that. All right, cool, good stuff. My Xavier was only going to be a cameo because I don't want a lot of Xavier in this movie, as I said. But give me your Xavier.
I liked this stoicism with every once in a while a little bit of, I don't want to say jokiness, but there is a little bit of a barb thrown from time to time.
He could be a sarcastic dick. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm picking Daniel Craig.
Oh, that's really good. So you know what? I fell into a trap of only looking at bald actors. I forgot people can put on makeup and shave their heads. That's really good. I really like
I liked it, especially when I thought about my Magneto and how they would face off. So
who's your Magneto? Let's do him as a double act.
Okay. Are you ready for this? I will not stop.
Now it sounds like it's a joke. But what do you got?
It isn't it? Like, it's weird because I believe that this can happen. This is I'm picking Matt Berry as Magneto.
No, you're right. Listen, aside from the voice or whatever could be fun, what are you motion capturing him into a CGI character? Are you going to have him lose 90 pounds and gain a foot of height? No.
He's floating all the time. What's the difference?
He's not a vampire. Oh, but you're talking. So you bet Matt Berry, like he would hide the height. Like, you know the difference between reality and him as a vampire in the show. Is this your foot down? Because fucking hell, that's terrible.
Fine,
that's
give me your Magneto.
That what?
I said fine. Give me your Magneto.
Viggo Mortensen.
I guess that's good.
He's older these days. He's still scraggly looking. He's looked like he's been through a lot. He's an amazing actor. Viggo Mortensen is my Magneto choice.
All right, I'll buy that.
All right.
I knew I either figured you were going to be all in and really excited about Matt Berry, or you're going to hate it completely. So
don't worry, I hate it.
I didn't feel like fighting it if you're going to hate it. So,
but I really liked your Professor X. Isn't that enough? Can we have that? I really liked your Professor X.
I think now that I got that, I think maybe that softened the blow. So
yeah, I thought that was a really good show. My Professor X, like I said, I for some reason locked myself into bald actors. Although it makes me think of growing up as a kid. Years, like a decade before the X-Men movie, Patrick Stewart was fan cast for 15 years before that movie actually got made. The second Star Trek The Next Generation came out, every nerdy kid went, wow, so he's going to be Xavier one day. That's amazing. And it was like a guarantee. Every Wizard magazine published in the 90s that would try to do a fan cast was like, and of course, Patrick Stewart is Xavier. So assuming a bald actor would just be the go-to isn't the worst show. So, but my go-to choice, my thought was Stanley Tucci for Xavier, and which is fine, but I think Daniel Craig would have more gravitas, and he would be able to have more fun with it. As long as you pay him, do we have to give him the Sigourney Weaver in Alien 3 bonus to shave his head? Like, if he comes back for reshoots and I have to shave my head, you're giving me $2 million.
Yeah, so, maybe.
or has makeup technology progressed to the point where we can just take care of it that way?
I think so, yeah. And he may not care just because He's got all the Bond money, so.
That's fair. He's just having fun at this point. He's acting well. But he's like, listen, I got a Knives Out sequel to shoot in a year. This hair better be back and everybody better be good. I can't come back for reshoots. You're paying me so much money. We're not Superman's mustaching my hair for this. We're gonna do it right. So I like Daniel Craig's effects, and we'll get my Viggo Mortensen for Magneto if you're cool with that.
Yes.
So, and now my villains. My main villain is a completely CGI creature with no actor or voice acting. So there's a character who was, when they introduced the first appearances of Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Sunfire, the reintroduction of Banshee, the issue where Wolverine joined the X-Men, that villain was Krakoa the Living Island in Giant Size X-Men #1, 1975. I want to loosely adapt that story as the B story to this movie.
Okay.
There's something that happens where the team has to split off, and a team of X-Men go because they're getting a signal that there's this giant mutant, but it's a mega level. It's in the Pacific. We can't figure it out, but we've pinpointed it to this island where this mutant has to be. And it turns out to be the island. And just insane action jungle sequences, lots of peril, and I want to loosely adapt that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. It also gives a lot of character moments between the existing X-Men team without having to divert to another villain character. There's still a situation in peril, but they're dealing with, oh my god, the mutant is the island. This is fucking insane. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. Any pushback on that as one part of our plot?
As long as it's not the main one, yeah, sure.
No. The main plot, have you heard of Quintin Quire? He has been published consistently as a character in the X-Men comics since 2005. So I'm pulling a deep cut in the sense that that's my problem with X-Men media. And that's why I don't want Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine. There is a storyline called Riot at Xavier's, where tensions boil over so much between things that are going on between the team and the world and mutant relations with humans and within the mutant community. And I think it would really play well into today's society and the way things work out, where some of the students and the ringleader, Quintin Quire, just says, I don't believe in this dream anymore. And they revolt at the school and they start a riot at Xavier's. The way this movie comes together in my mind is I actually want, you remember in X-Men 97, the Genosha stuff, where Gambit died and all these mutants died. So many mutants died. In my mind, we are picking up this world from a point that a lot of people now would know is the fallout of Genosha. So tensions are fucking high. A lot of people have died. And in my mind, in this Genosha, Professor X and Magneto both died. Like, whatever happened here, they both didn't make it out this time.
Okay.
So there's a memorial service, and everyone's there. You get the original X-Men talking, and you get other people talking. And Quintin Quire, one of the ways that he disrupted class in these comics was, and I'm going to basically adapt everything he did with Xavier in the comic, I'm going to put on Jean Grey, which is why I needed her in a powerful leadership position.
Okay.
So he interrupts the classes the next day after the memorial, where he's fed up and had enough, and he mentally takes over the class so that Jean Grey is put to the side, and he's yelling at everybody, talking with everybody, and he and Jean get into like a mental debate, heated argument over the state of everything. Because think about the X-Men, they've always been very dialed into the political nature of that type of stuff, right?
Right.
And Jean's role in this is going to be, they put something on, kind of like the Juggernaut helmet, to damage their powers. They start running roughshod over the school. But right before this happens, post-memorial, pre-riot, they get the thing about Krakoa. So I have a school team and a field team. The field team starts out as Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus. They go to the island. Shit goes wrong hard. this is the only interaction for a lot of the movie you're going to get between Cyclops and Wolverine. So I want a really big show of the only way they're going to get rescue is one person is going to go back. They figured out a way to get one person off. We can get help, come back. We're going to figure this out. And in the comic, the original comic, the way they formed the new X-Men team is Cyclops is the only one who gets off the island. They formed this new team of X-Men of Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus, etc., to go rescue the original team. The way they do it now is Wolverine's going to be like Slim. That's just, did they ever call Cyclops Slim in the movies? Wolverine's nickname for Cyclops in the comics is Slim.
I don't think so, no.
I need that in the movie. So Wolverine he's like, Slim, you're getting back on that. They're like, no, we got to do this. Go! And there's going to be that dramatic scene with the claws where he cuts something and he shoots him out in some kind of pod. So where Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus are trapped on the island fighting for their lives, Cyclops comes back to the school for what should be a, get this moving, we're going, we have to get the team back. But the riot breaks out, locking down the facility, stopping facilities being able to get what they need. And it becomes this race against time of them having to talk down and being able to have those really dramatic Xavier Magneto style debates you want without Xavier and Magneto, with this young, frustrated generation of mutants of, you promised us the dream, and what is this fucking world? Everyone's dead.
Right.
And them trying to do that while the other team is trying to survive. And it all has to build to the end. And it's like that race against time. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in on it.
Okay.
Because we're introducing a new big bad. Yeah, for sure.
And then in the comics, by the way, he eventually becomes more of an anti-hero. And I would have that here. He's still a bad guy for the whole movie. But he's also young and misguided.
Yeah.
And he's confused and angry. I don't want him vilified. He will do bad things in this. He's a bad guy. But at the end, you'll resolve it.
There's room for redemption, yeah.
Exactly. You'll resolve it with him standing down and not being able to go rescue the team and do the big thing. And when I say I want the romantic subplot with Kitty Pryde and Colossus is because I want to adapt one of my all-time favorite comics tragic moments for Kitty Pryde. Joss Whedon, whatever else you may think of Joss Whedon, did a magnificent run of a comic called Astonishing X-Men. He came in after Grant Morrison and undid a little bit of what Morrison had done. He had made it more like the movies. And Joss Whedon brought back some of the more of the comic stuff. But he had this amazing run for Kitty Pryde where this is where she became a teacher and wasn't just the student anymore. It showed her growing and evolving. And I want to see that Kitty Pryde. And at the end, she sacrificed herself. But there was this massive, we're not going to do it this way. In the comics, it was like a massive space gun that was going to shoot like a big bullet at the Earth. And you remember Kitty Pryde's powers are she can phase and make things intangible. So she can walk through walls and float through things. She took the bullet and made it pass through the Earth. But the problem is the momentum of space and physics, she's now trapped and that bullet's just traveling through space forever. And the horror of it is Kitty Pryde's powers are, and we'll pepper this in while they're trapped on the island. When she's intangible, she doesn't need to breathe or eat or do the things that a normal person would do. It's like an alt state. So she's just trapped in the comics for years in this bullet until they can try to find her. And it's very tragic.
Okay.
The way I want them to finally be able to defeat Krakoa is the team still have to come rescue them to give them time to pull this off. She's going to phase the island through the Earth. And she'll phase it down through. And it will still be that same powerful, she's now separated from the team. You've grown to love her, hopefully, throughout the movie. Because, boy, it's going to be a moment if you don't. And she is lost. And there you get a little sequel bait of like, we'll fucking find her. We're going to get her back. And so I think that'd be a really powerful moment to do. I want to see that where the X-Men finally come to rescue and they're doing that, but they can't get through and they can't get the plane. And their ability to come back is we're hitting the same problems we had before. And she just built up everything. And there could be this thought of devaluing her throughout the movie too, because a lot of people think, oh, you just walk through walls. And she's like, no, I can do a lot. And that's her raw moment. So.
Ooh, X-Men 2 In Search of Pryde.
Yeah, I like that. What's the name of that shitty pilot that they did in the 90s that the X-Men arcade game was based off of that has Kitty Pryde in it? That was, do you know what I'm talking about? The X-Men arcade, you know the famous X-Men arcade game that everyone knows? That was based off a failed 1989 TV pilot that didn't get picked up. Where, by the way, if you ever find it on YouTube, for some reason, hilarious thinking about who they cast later, Wolverine's Australian. So if they just made that happen instead of Canadian.
He sure is.
Yeah. So it's really, it all comes down. Oh, the subplot of that was X-Men Pryde of the X-Men, spelled with a R-Y, like kitty.
Yeah.
So we could have adapted that. It would have been great. We take that title for the sequel. Think of Quentin Quire in this. You know how think of Draco Malfoy in the last 2 Harry Potters, where he is still doing terrible, evil shit, but he's tormented about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's starting to have second-guess thoughts. I want that to be Quentin Quire. And long story short for all of that, I hate my choice because I think he's been overcast. And not overcast like shadowy, but too much casting. And he's getting a little burned out. The problem is I really just see Finn Wolfhard in this role. I can't help it. He's the right age range. He's the right look. He could play the tormented stuff. Give me something better for the character I'm describing. When I say I want Finn Wolfhard, find me... And here's the look of Quentin Quire. Think punk rock. Think someone who wants to be punk rock. They've adopted punk rock as their look to be rebellious. That's who this character is.
So that's why I think this is... I'm sticking with what Finn Wolfhard is most known for.
Yeah.
What if we went Noah Schnapp instead?
Okay.
He's Will Byers.
Yeah. I'm going to look up. Yeah, I see that.
People could say one way or the other. I thought actually in the last season of Stranger Things, I know you said you tapped out after.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Right? Yeah. So there, spoiler.
What season is it currently?
It's the 5 is coming out next year, or I guess if this is coming out in 2025, this year.
Oh.
In the past year, Will is dealing with a whole bunch of different things, and you have to see a lot of his emotional turmoil on his face. Things he can't say, but things you have to see in his face. And I thought the actor did a really nice job of kind of portraying some of these things through. And so I think that he could be kind of this pretender, but at the same time, you could see the torment. I think that might be an interesting choice.
I think you're right. And also looking, just quick Google image search of what he looks like now.
Schnapp,
Noah Schnapp. What he looks like now versus what I remember from when he's a real little kid when I stopped watching. Dude, this is a money choice, especially like this is it. He fits the look, he can act. This is the choice.
Yeah, if you're thinking about him like in the first season, obviously not. But since he's aged up, I think it works pretty well.
That's a great fucking choice.
I looked up something on the side here. Did you know that actually credited as Kid Omega in X-Men: The Last Stand?
What? Like, there's no Kid Omega's in the last...
It says a character inspired by Quire and credited as Kid Omega. It was Ken Leung. Is that how you say his name?
God, the guy from Lost. He was in The Sopranos, and he's in something else recently. Oh, he was in.
You know what he's in?
He's in that shitty Inhumans show.
Yes.
What else is he in? Oh, is that it? Yeah.
Industry, the thing I've been talking about for a long time.
Oh, is he? Oh, God. Okay. Well, one day I'll watch it, sure. Except I won't. Oh, he's Spiky guy. They didn't give him his powers. They called him Kid Omega. And
I think they just called him that to be like,
he is. He's the asshole they put in all the trailers that's a porcupine, where his powers are like the porcupines.
Yeah, and he hugs somebody and then does that. And
that is not motherfucking fuck you, X-Men 3, again and again and again for every terrible thing you did. My God.
I just happened to look that up on the side and just go as a reason. I hadn't heard of Quentin Quire. I didn't know who he was.
So let's do a summary, and you tell me if there's any issues. I'll quickly hit the plot because we went all over the place. I'll do a quick summary of that. We start in the aftermath of Genosha, so you can listen, if you really want like a little flashback opening scene of what happened so you can get into your Xavier Magneto cameos, go to town, right? But Genosha happened. Xavier and Magneto are gone. There is tough tension in the mutant. A lot of people have died. We're a year on from that. They just did a memorial. The school is the school, seemingly. Classes are going on. There's something that happens in the ocean. They're getting a mega level mutant notification on this island in the Pacific. Let's go check it out. Oh my God, the mutant is the island. Things go awry. Terrible action. Some of the team gets trapped. Cyclops comes back to rescue people. Right as they try to mount a rescue team and get things moving, there's a revolt among the students at Xavier, and there becomes this tense situation. Jean Grey is kind of being held captive, and I think also Beast. Bad things could happen. Their powers are being tamped down. Quentin Quire, Omega level telepath, is leading this revolt, but he's not a true bad guy. There's a lot of gray area. He's young and frustrated at the state of the world, and how are they going to figure out the situation? And it's a race against time because these other X-Men on the island will fucking die if we don't go rescue them. Things are not good. By the end, they manage to talk down Quintin. They get a rescue team together. They get the X-Men who are left back to go get the others. Things are still going bad. Kitty Pryde eventually has to phase the island through the earth. Sequel bait is that we're going to go rescue Kitty. She's still alive and she's out there. And then my other thought is sequel bait is somehow either Xavier or Magneto. After credits, there's going to be some indication that at least one of them is still alive somehow. Like, you just to throw people in bone, right?
There we go.
Any issues with that as the movie?
I think it works that way. Yeah. As we're making it, I wonder if the Krakatoa part will seem, but it's a
Krakoa, no T.
Krakoa. So.
And also, by the way, I gave you the comics lore of it.
Yeah.
You don't keep calling it Krakoa the Living Island. That's a mouthful. In my mind, there's an island called Krakoa in the Pacific that we're going to go through, and then when they get there and things start going on, there's a moment where they figure out, wait a minute, the mutant isn't on Krakoa. The mutant is Krakoa. And that's the most you got to say about it. Something happened, and that's all you got to do with it. It can be nameless, faceless after that. You don't have to go into lore if that's what you were worried about.
No. And it's more just to keep things moving along, right? So it just as long as we're not, I mean, they get there and then they realize they're in trouble, and that's when we're kind of cutting back to.
I say that you have the memorial, and then you set up with that and the immediate aftermath a lot of the tensions. And you introduce Quentin Quire, and you have that scene where he interrupts his class before the riot, before they leave. So that you know things are really bad. And that's when they go do the thing, and they go, and there can be, in my mind, there's a scene with Jean Grey and Cyclops like at the school where they're talking about it, and they're like, well, we just got this flag. Are you comfortable with some of us going right now? Things are really bad, but we should go look at this. And it's like, let's go check it out. And that can lead into that. And that you get one great big action scene of them on the island, which makes Cyclops come back to the school. And I think the bulk of the tension and the plot probably is at the school with the drama.
Okay.
But you keep getting fun action movie asides with drama with Colossus and Kitty Pryde. I think you can balance them easily. Think about what you see with a lot of Endgame is a bad example because it's a build-up, but you can juggle two plots. You can juggle an A and a B plot and make them good. I think, unless I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, and we'll revert.
No, I think it works. It's just I want to make sure that everything is still kind of, I guess. So yeah, because Shadowcat is finishing off the one plot while the other is, but it can't be done until the first is sort of resolved. So that's the continuation, and then that delves into the. Once I kind of see it through in my head, I think it works. I think the scene where Quentin disrupts the class that needs to be a Shadowcat teaching class.
So in my mind, it's got to be Jean, right? Because Jean has to be the one because she's. Lay out what you were saying. And
we need to establish that Kitty could do something like that. Like I feel like it's very thrown in if we're just like she's going to bypass the island through or whatever. Like we need to show her being able to.
Okay, I know how we can do this. I know how we can do this.
Like,
so this is how you would do
just
this.
to show she could do something like that.
You still get, you don't. There's a big thing in X-Men, and this can be hinted at through dialogue. There are a lot of mutants who are more powerful than they even realize because they are human still. They don't realize what they could tap into, right?
Yep.
I think Omega level Psychic Quire does interrupt Kitty's class, and he threatens her, and he's like, do you even realize what you're really capable of? Do you realize what you could do? Do you realize this? And you sit here and you teach us this. Like he starts going off at her. That's when Jean can get involved as the other psychic. And that's when it becomes that. So you need, you get that. Does that set that up better for you?
That's 2 for 1. So that puts it in, that puts it in Kitty's mind already. And then she can call back to that later. And then at the same time, that gives you the conflict where Jean, it gives a red flag to Jean where she has to go to Scott.
And that can be more of what Colossus and Kitty are emotionally dealing with as a couple on the island. His helping her work through kind of like that while they're dealing with all of this. I like that. That's good. We got there. the things we can come up with. Again, call us. Call us, Marvel, so we can lay out the ideas.
I mean, I liked all this stuff. I was just making sure we avoid a 3.5-hour movie. So
you're absolutely right, and that's a twofer. So there's your plot. Let's knock out and review our casting. We will start with, honestly, even though they're cameos, we'll start at the tippy top. A lot of people worry about. We went with Daniel Craig as Professor X, who was Randy's pick, and Viggo Mortensen as Magneto, who was my pick, because I nearly threw up when I love the actor. My goodness. So then we'll go back to the actual leader of the X-Men. He is on the field team, but also the school staff. He floats between, because he's the leader. Cyclops will be my pick, Zac Efron, which he's going to have that bold chin and that visor. It's going to do a lot of chin work. He's ready to go. You got to make things happen. Then we went with Randy's pick for Jean Grey, Emily Deschanel. Then we dialed back to my pick, and I had to put my foot down because I would not let Randy's Timothée Chalamet exist. Cillian Murphy is Beast. Then we went to, I didn't bold it. I almost got paused and said mine. I was doing a lot of formatting, so I could keep things straight. But Storm is going to be Randy's pick of Jennifer Hudson, and I really liked that. You got me around to that. Wolverine was, neither one of us are happy with Wolverine. And I was hoping while we were talking, we'd come up with something. But Wolverine is going to be Randy's pick of Norman Reedus, and I do think he would do great. But it's really just comes down to the look. Do you agree or disagree? It's the look of.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think emotionally and acting wise, it's going to do great.
I will say, Colin Farrell as the Penguin has me heartened that things
makeup can do a lot.
Be adjusted with the look.
That's a good point. Moving on from Wolverine, though, let's go with another classic team member, Storm. Both performance, gravitas, and height, Jennifer Hudson is the choice. So then I believe that was, we both had casted an Iceman, so I'll do that. Even though he'll only be a cameo in this, you went with Glenn Powell, and that's your choice. It's a better choice. Good choice on Glenn Powell. We also did Gambit and Rogue each, right? Yep. Even though I think they're only cameos here at the memorial at the top. We went with your Gambit, who is Austin Butler, and we went with my Rogue, which is Alexandra Daddario. So we should be good there. Now, we'll talk some others and alternates later, but I believe with some of the characters that I chose that you didn't have as characters, we did manage to pull in some of your backup and alternate castings to put in those roles, correct?
Yes.
For a couple of them?
I think my backup for Rogue is who we ended up with for Kitty Pryde.
Yes, which was Riley, how do you say it? Keough? Riley Keough?
I think it's Keough, yeah.
Keough. Then I cast a Colossus, who is her love interest, one of my favorite X-Men. And you picked a really good name that I was unaware of, Alan Ritchson. Looking at his resume and looking at his look, what a great choice. Big fan of that. Doing voice work only, probably. Maybe we'll get him for motion capture. But Daniel Bruhl doing Nightcrawler, fantastic German accent, my pick. And then we decided on Vanessa Hudgens for Jubilee.
Jubilee, yeah.
After some spirited back and forth. And then you picked a great choice for our main villain, Quintin Quire, Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things. Really good choice with that. I believe that is our lineup. I think we have a fun X-Men movie. Oh, one cameo I didn't mention, Joe Keery as Angel off the top.
Right.
And I did write this down, and we never even talked about it because I thought you might mention him. Bishop, who's in the cartoons, a regular part of the team. I did look at Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out and the Black Panther movies. I thought he could be a good Bishop, but whatever. So
does that count? I mean,
what do you got? Oh, forgot. Fucking yeah. So no, he's out. Sorry, we really pigeonholed ourselves here. Your choice for Kitty Pryde is great, but Haley Steinfeld. I thought I had found gold for Kitty Pryde, but I completely forgot she's also fucking Hawkeye.
She was very good in that. That was
she was
great little. Yeah.
Here's the problem with the current MCU. That was so long ago. And she has shown up in nothing. I forgot she existed. So there's too much with too little.
She does singing, right?
There's too much with too little. No, I don't mean her as an actress. I cast her. Her as a character. I forgot Hawkeye
gotcha.
Existed. Her Hawkeye existed because she just never shows up. And it's been 3.5 years. You know, it's I forgot that was a thing. So that's another rant for another time that we've already kind of had. So there we go. That's the X-Men.
Boy.
Any final thoughts, concerns, anything that you want to address on that?
No, I think we worked our way through what we were thinking. And I think it also shows too that this exercise is a lot more difficult than you think, because there are not as many actors and actresses as you think that have not been involved one way or another with the Marvel franchises. Although, I mean, Marvel is breaking its own rule, right, with Doctor Doom. So
Yeah, you're right. Fucking, although I'm convinced there will be if they have to address that in the story at some point, right? Because if they don't, that's fucking bold. That is
yeah.
very bold if they don't. But any other final thoughts before we hit the old social media plugs? Get out of here.
No, I think we've presented and laid out. Give us
All
lots of
right.
money.
Yeah. Oh, Randy, I have the worst news. The social. Oh, you mean for the movies? I thought you meant for the social
Oh.
media plugs. I was like, nobody's paying. We got no ads. No one's. We're nothing. Yes, Marvel, Disney, everybody pay us for us. I realize that they are your intellectual property, your ideas, but we have crafted. We have taken your ingredients and put them into a fine stew. So take it. Take our X-Men casserole that we have baked for you today
Indeed.
and give us the money. But social media plugs. What day is this episode coming out? I'm counting down to the end of TikTok. So this episode is going to come out on January 9th, which means when this episode comes out, you can still find me at Mike Barcode, MikeBarcode, on TikTok, Instagram, all those places. And we still have the Weight of These Guys Friends, TikTok and Instagram. As Randy said, enjoy the next week of TikTok. I can't believe it's going away. I'm so fucking bummed. If you have a real issue with things, shoot us a note at waitoftheseguysfriends@gmail.com. And as always, please give us 5-star reviews, give us thumbs ups, give us likes, give us subscribes, anything else, the algorithm. We are an algorithm-based culture. I say it all the time. We love doing this, but we love you loving it even more. So please join us. Randy, get us off the air, shall you?
Goodbye, everybody.